I'm Ken, and I'm here to talk about my experience doing a startup, and mostly I'm going to focus on how to do everything wrong. Some of you may be thinking about doing a startup yourself, and I hope that I can discourage you. Because in the last 7 years I've been working on this, I've done everything wrong. Starting by not doing something trendy. I don't do Web 2.0, or Web 3.0, I don't do social crowds, I don't do social networking, I don't do casual games, and I don't do anything in the cloud. In fact, what I've done is invent something really bizarre. I call it a giant step backwards to paper. So we print audio on paper, which in fact no one can understand. And when you're going out to talk to people about raising money, they go, well, where's the cloud? Where's the social network? In fact, what we're doing is so weird. We started with building hardware because when we started this 7 years ago, the smartphones didn't exist and you didn't have them in your pocket. So to do what we needed to do, we needed to build hardware, and nobody wants to fund you if you're building hardware. Better than that, let's take something you don't know anything about. So I knew nothing about barcodes. I thought I could license a barcode that would do what I wanted it to do. I had to learn about barcodes. I had to learn about image processing, get help anywhere I can. But fundamentally, I didn't know what I was doing. So I hired a famous engineer to do it for me, and I spent a whole bunch of money on this guy, who will go unnamed, but if you recognize the product, you'll figure out who he is. And found out $500,000 later that he, in fact, did nothing, and ended up with a bridge that looked like this. And then when I fired the famous engineer, I accidentally copied him on an email about how bad he was. That was kind of embarrassing, and another thing you shouldn't do wrong. Another thing to do wrong is try to raise money at the absolute worst time for raising money, after the crash. And so we're trying to raise money and not succeed very well, but we did start at the venture capitalists. The other mistake, of course, is being out here in Hawaii. So all the money is over there on the West Coast, and we are here as far away from that as you can get. Doing business in Hawaii is insane. It has nothing to do with government regulations here. So we tried to raise money from the VCs, which is the typical way to go, but the VCs are not actually funding anything right now because they haven't had any exits, so they don't have any money, because all the money is tied up in the current things. So maybe you get a second round from not the first round. So we go back to the angels, and the angels are now acting like VCs, which means if you don't have a product and you don't have revenue, they're not going to give you any money. So the angels dried up at about the same time, and in fact have the same issue that they've had no exits. So now that leaves you with don't raise any money at all. And when you don't raise any money at all, you end up with what's on this slide, which is nothing. And there are people who manage to do startups without paying anybody, but I'm not one of those. So you do have to have some money. So then we go out and try to raise money in a really, really weird way. We did something called a revenue participation round, where we tried to sell a percentage of our future revenue. And it was a beautiful deal. It was elegantly crafted, it was a gorgeous piece of work, and it was accepted by no one. So now we go back and we focus on the product. Okay, we've got to get the product out the door. And with the little bit of money that we have, we work hard on getting a prototype that we can demonstrate to people. And what happens, of course, when you focus on the product is you run out of money. So now we're back to raising money. And so we're talking to angels and VCs, but in fact, friends and family really came through here. So it is important to come from a wealthy family, which we don't. But it really does. So then we're back to focusing on the product, and as you can see here, the product in fact does nothing. I got to build one. I got all the parts. I don't have the time to build it now. So after focusing on the product for a while, then you need to go back raising money, and you repeat this cycle until despair sets in. So I proved that completely incapable of raising large sums of money, but I've been extremely good at raising just enough money to keep going. So that's a painful way of moving forward. And what do I do with that money? Well, my second biggest expense after engineers is lawyers. I spent $155,000 on my first 2 patents, and what did I get for it? 1 claim out of each patent. And oh, by the way, the big patent search, they did fail to find the 1 patent that I actually infringed. So finally, what am I doing? I'm introducing a product that competes against free. Anyone can print QR codes, but if you want to print us, it's going to cost you some money. So that's another brilliant mistake that you can make. And so finally, what can you do? Well, perseverance, of course, is never knowing when to stop. And so 7 years later, I'm still doing it, and all I have to show for this is a poorly debugged iPhone product, which some of you saw earlier today, but it's what I do and it's fun.